have Maurice Gaskin with us tonight, and this is our health corner, and he's gonna be talking about mosquitoes, those pesky little insects, the tiny insect causing big problems. That's what we're gonna talk about. Welcome, Mr. Maurice Gaskin.
Good evening, Marcia.
Good evening.
Good evening to all those locked on to your show. It's my pleasure again to be here. This evening I'm going to be speaking on mosquitoes, the tiny insect causing big problems. Well, that is true because I was looking at something already on YouTube, and they list the 10 most dangerous animals or insects in the world, and mosquitoes is part of that thing.
Wow.
I mentioned that there are 3 rodents of concern in Barbados, which I went through last week and week before. And coincidentally, there are hundreds of species of mosquitoes in the world. And sadly, we have 3 of those species here in Barbados. So let me begin. We have a mosquito called the Culex, C-U-L-E-X.
Culex.
Culex, C-U-L-E-X, Culex. And the reason why we have so many different species of mosquitoes is that I am Gaskin, but that don't mean that I don't have family beyond Gaskin. So I have family who are Adams, Gibson, Chandler, and Haynes. Just like the mosquito, the Culex have what you call subspecies. So you have the Culex pipiens, Culex talsarus,
Culex what?
Talsarus, the Culex pipiens, and the Culex kinky-fasciatus. Those are what you call subspecies of mosquitoes. So that is how you get all these hundreds of species of mosquitoes. So in the Culex family, this mosquito, I want persons to pay very good attention to what I'm saying. This mosquito tend to bite you just about 6 o'clock this evening. And it's the mosquito who's going to be buzzing around your ears while we are watching and listening to your show. That is the mosquito that is buzzing around your ears from 6 this evening until around 7 tomorrow morning. It do not like light. It like dark areas. It like this sort of environment like now when it's dark and cool. And that mosquito, we have that mosquito here in Barbados. And how we know we have that mosquito here, one of my colleagues who is now retired, Mr. Anthony Hoyt, when I was at the Vector Control Unit, he was responsible for what we call species identification. So he will look at the chrome scales, he will look at the abdomen, the thorax, the body structure, and then he will pair it to some different characteristics. And he has determined that we have the Culex mosquito here in Barbados. When we come around at your premises and the inspector look into water, because mosquitoes only survive through water. So when he look into that water, the Culex mosquito, the larvae, lie at a 45-degree angle. And the reason why it lie at a 45-degree angle, the mosquito breathes through, we breathe through our nose. The mosquito breathes through what is called a siphon tube, S-I-P-H-O-N. And the siphon tube for the Culex larvae is bent. So it must position itself at a 45-degree angle so that it will get oxygen from the water to survive. So that is how when we come around your premises and we see larvae in water, we will know definitely it's the Culex mosquito. Now, I mentioned the larvae, the angle. I have mentioned the biting time, 6 in the evening to 7 the following morning. Let's look at diseases transmitted by this mosquito. About the last 6 to 7 years, I would have mentioned that this mosquito transmit what is called the West Nile virus.
Mm.
And lo and behold, last year or year before, you have heard in the news and saw it in the media that Barbados experienced a case of West Nile virus. And you may ask yourself, how is that possible? How that becomes possible is that the West Nile virus is transmitted by birds. So you have birds in other foreign countries that hitchhike rides because some of them can't fly from Canada and the US here into Barbados. So what they do, the birds fly onto ships, both cargo ships and the tourist liners and so on. And what happened is that they're going to bite persons with the virus, the West Nile virus, and then when the birds come into Barbados and the mosquito go and bite them, then the mosquito take infected blood from that person, and then when the mosquito come and bite you, only the female bite you to get a blood meal. That is how you will come down with West Nile virus. So West Nile virus is basically and a lot of egrets and doves and those sort macaws and those sort of birds are known to transmit the West Nile virus. Mosquito also go and bite horses, and you will get a disease called equine, because in public health, anytime you hear the word porcine, it means pig. Anytime you hear the word bovine, it means cow. And anytime you hear the word equine, it means horse. So mosquitoes go and bite horses or bite a horse and take infected blood from the horse, and you get a disease called equine encephalitis, where the virus tend to interfere with the lining of the brain. So and you also get a disease called lymphatic filariasis or elephantiasis. And of course, this is a serious, these are serious diseases, mostly in the African countries, where when the virus interferes with the lymph node here, what you call the tonsils in your throat, you get your neck swelling, extending and swelling very big. If the virus interferes with the lymph node up on your armpit, you get your arms swelling very big. You also get big feet, massive big feet, sometimes 6-8 inches of swelling of the feet. And for us men, you get when it interferes with what you call the Watson kernel, down the lymph node down by your groin, down by your penis and your testicles. You get a swelling of the testicles, extremely large testicles. And here on the screen, we are actually watching lymphatic filariasis and elephantiasis, extremely dangerous disease, extremely dangerous diseases that are found mostly in the African countries. And this is an example of what you're seeing caused by mosquitoes here on the screen. So that is the culex. As I said, bite you between 6 in the evening to 7 the following morning. The next mosquito we're going to look at is a mosquito called the Anopheles, Anopheles. That Anopheles mosquito is found at the Graham Hall Swamp in Christchurch. When I did some research years ago, I discovered that it wasn't only during the 1930s and 40s, the Anopheles mosquito was also found at not only at Graham Hall, but at Trent in St. James, nearby Landgrove. There's actually a wetland swamp there, and also tree houses in St. Philip. So the mosquito is still there at Graham Hall, and the reason why it's there at Graham Hall, the mosquito is called the Anopheles aquasalis. Anopheles aqua means water, salis means salt. So the swamp at Graham Hall leads to the sea, and the sea leads to the swamp. So the water is more fresh and salt. So that mosquito is found there, and that mosquito transmit the most deadly disease called malaria. And there are thousands of the larvae up there in the swamp as I speak to you. Um, you know, we do so many things in the public service that a lot of persons are not aware of. When I was at the vector control unit in the 1980s, and even when I went back there as senior, when we read the textbook, the textbook say that the mosquito come out and bite you around 5 in the evening until around 7 at night. Then it go back in and come back and bite around 10 p.m. and 12 midnight. And you know what, Marcia? We wanted to see if that was true. So myself and two of my other colleagues during the 80s, we will put on a black pants, a dark color pants, black or blue or some dark color pants, along with black shoes and socks. And we will go up to the swamp around 10 to 5. And the mosquito will come out and bite us. and it bites you with what is called the proboscis. So it bites you. And when it bites you, it's like if a centipede is biting you. So we will sit there and get bite between 5 and 7. And we will draw the mosquito into a tube and blow it into a bottle. And at the end of the evening, we will cover the bottle down, take them to the vector control unit. And the next morning, we will count the amount of mosquitoes that we would have collected. And that gives an indication as to the infestation rate at the swamp. During that time, the Honorable Branford Tate was Minister of Health, and we had asked him to employ a team of workers at the swamp. And in 1988, we had a team of workers working at the swamp, and they're still working there, not the same group that started in the 1980s, but there's a group up there that you have a supervisor, and the numbers are down now to about 10, and their job is to clean the bush and all the grass and so on from around the swamp area. Graham Hall Swamp is about 53 to 55 acres of land. It starts all the way up in Maxwell, and it ends up down by Big B supermarket there in Rendezvous. Total acreage is about 53 to 55 acres of land. So they're responsible for cutting all the bush and the grass and debris to allow the sunlight to get into the water. And then the swamp is divided into 7 areas. So the workers up there, their job is to go and do dips. They have a spoon like a ladle, and every day they do dips to collect larvae. And that actually measures the infestation rate of the amount of mosquitoes up there. Barbadians do not have to be alarmed about the Anopheles mosquito, because although there are thousands of mosquitoes up there, they cannot do any harm, because you will need someone to come in from outside with the malaria and present themselves in the area of the swamp. And that is why it's important when persons are visiting a country, they need to declare their health status, because someone coming in, I want to share something with you. When I was at the Morris Bay Polyclinic, we had a visitor came into the island. That was in 2007, I think, and 2008. Did not say what he had when he came in, but malaria. He had malaria. The symptoms had serious headache, high fever, joint pains, and you feel extremely bad. So he had to present himself to the polyclinic, and it's there that he declared that he had malaria. So I sent out an inspector, very good inspector. Unfortunately, he passed away about 3 months ago, to do the investigation. And when I read the report, the officer instructed him to report to the polyclinic twice a week. And then the officer instructed him that when he is moving around the island, he should not go no further than Bay Street. Because, as you know, if he go past Bay Street and go in the area of the swamp, and then the mosquito bite him, then that is how it will transmit malaria. So saying that he was restricted in his movement around Barbados, that he cannot visit any and every place, then the person went back to the country to where they were born, and we were happy about that. Malaria comes in four different serotypes. So you have falciparum, you have ovale, you have malaria eye, and you have vivax. And the falciparum is the most dangerous one. And I remember a few years ago, you had a few outbreaks in Jamaica and the USA from the falciparum. I was fortunate to see the vivax one when I went to China. I went to a health center and I was able to see the vivax one under microscope. So that is, and before I forget, somebody may want to know if I say that the anopheles were found at Graham Hall, Trent in St. James, and St. Philip Tree Houses. How do we know that they're still not there? As I said, we do so many things in the Ministry of Health. When I was at Vector, there's a team that do wetlands investigation. When they talk about wetlands, this is a team that go around and check when, like, you just had heavy rainfall on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Obviously there's some, we identify about 300 wetlands in Barbados. Wetlands meaning water that will remain settled for a long period of time. So what we will do is sometimes twice a week, we will go around and we will do dips at tree houses. We will do dips down in Trents to see if the mosquito is there. But as I say, the mosquito like brackish water, which is salt and fresh water. So that is the second mosquito I just mentioned. Actually, I went to China to study the malaria control at the School for Parasitic Diseases in China. And there were 59 of us, about 32 were doctors. And when we presented our presentation on Barbados, people wanted to know what me and my colleague was doing in China, because nearly all the other countries had malaria and Barbados did not have any malaria. So it was a joke. They wanted to know what we were doing up there. And all the African countries were represented. All of them had malaria because there are massive amount of swamplands in thousands and thousands of swamplands in Africa. Right. Okay.
But I have a question before you go to the third one, and I hope I don't take you off track. But somebody says, can't remember the name of the person, but they ask about the male mosquito. And they're asking if it's true that the male mosquito buzzes around your ears so that the female could bite you. Is that true?
That is definitely true.
Really?
That is definitely true. And the male feed on nectar, plants, and fruit juices. While the female, I'm very glad that person asked that question. The female, yes,
I didn't know about that.
That is true. That is true. And the female feeds on that way, but you to take your blood to help develop the eggs. And while I'm on that particular question, so that I will not forget, we're in an adult session here, so I can mention that females see the menstrual cycle, where a female produces one egg actually every month. Mosquitoes produce 80 to 100 eggs every 3 days. So you're seeing the danger of mosquito breeding, where yours is called the menstrual cycle, where you produce one egg, and maybe two if you're looking to be a twin and so on. So that is 12 eggs a year, 24 maximum in a year. A mosquito live for at least 21 days, and it produces 80 to 100 eggs every 3 days. So it means that one female mosquito produces about 500 eggs in its lifetime. But while yours in the female language is called the menstrual cycle, the mosquito one is called the gonotrophic cycle.
Wow. Go on the
G O
cycle.
Gonotrophic, the gonotrophic cycle, 80 to 100 eggs every 3 days. So you're
Wow.
seeing the danger of mosquito breeding, and only the female bite you.
The male distract you. They come.
Distract, yes, yes. And you hear that buzzing sound around your ears,
Ah,
and so on. And as I mentioned, while persons are watching your show, watching TV, watching the news, that is the mosquito that's the Culex is buzzing around your ears.
the male.
Now,
But the
right,
other one at your feet trying to bite.
right,
I never knew that.
right. And while it's biting you, it actually sends out like a little saliva, because you know your skin is tough. So it actually sends out a saliva from the proboscis. That is what it bite you with. Proboscis. You feel with your mouth, the mosquito feel with the proboscis. So it usually wets the area so that the skin become a little moist, that it could extract the blood from you. Right. Moving on to the third mosquito. I mentioned that the Culex bite you 6 in the evening to 7 the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote an article some years ago for the Nation newspaper, and for Terriali. Terriali used to write a column at the Nation newspaper. I think he's now he's either a Jamaican or Guyanese living in England or somewhere. And he asked me to write an article. I wrote an article for him. And when I wrote it and faxed it, in those days, you fax, he called me and he said, Mr. Gaskin, can you give it a title? And I say to him, you are a journalist, you're good at putting fancy captions in the newspaper to get persons to buy the newspaper. You give it a caption. And lo and behold, the next day when the article appeared in the Nation newspaper, the heading was, listen to this, Nature's Tag Team Pest. Nature's Tag Team Pest. And I had to smile. The reason why he said Nature's Tag Team Pest, the Culex mosquito bite between 6 in the evening to 7 tomorrow morning and stop feeding. And then the Aedes aegypti takes over and bite from 7 tomorrow morning until 6 in the evening. So what he was saying is that the two mosquitoes operate like a tag team. So the Aedes aegypti bite you 7 in the morning until 6 in the evening. And that is why, knowing that they're most active between 7 in the morning and 10, and then 4 in the evening and 6, that is why we conduct the fogging exercise between 4:30 and 7:30 in the evening. So some person may say, well, if the Aedes bite in the morning until 6 in the evening, why we would not fog during the morning? As you know, during the morning, outside is hot. And if we fog during the morning, hot air rises, and because of the heat, the fog will be wasted and blow up in the air. So it makes no sense fogging in the morning. Not only that, during the morning, majority of persons at school and at work, so there will be no one to open the homes like if it's in the evening. And then we fog in the evening because during the evening the wind is pretty calm and the fogging then remains pretty close to the ground. For those of you who are curious about the fogging, we use malathion, 1 part of malathion to 23 parts of diesel oil. And we put the diesel oil, mix it with the malathion, and put it, the diesel oil is a driver of the malathion, and we put it into a fogging machine. The fogging machine has an engine, so it generates about 1200 degrees of heat, so that when we put the chemical in, we calibrate it so that when we fog, we will not have what is called a wet fog, so that when we are fogging and any of the fogging blow on your car, it will not destroy the paint on your car. So we calibrate it so that it will come out in a smoke form, and any mosquitoes that come in contact with that malathion and diesel oil, it will kill them. So I mentioned the diseases from the Anopheles and the one from
this is going so good, and I hate to tell you that it's 2 minutes. I watch the numbers going up because the people are enjoying this, but which means it's fine. You will come back next week, God willing. I will have to speak with Dr. Hines. I don't know if he has something else planned, but I will beg him to let you come back on to continue this. This is so interesting. But we only have 2 minutes left.
Right. In the 2 minutes left, the Aedes aegypti transmit dengue fever, which you get what you call retroorbital pain in the eyes. The eyes hurt you. You get conjunctivitis, cold in your eyes, back pain, joint pains, and so on. You get chikungunya. Remember, you had the outbreak in 2017, chikungunya, and that is a dangerous thing because if teachers have it, they can't hold the chalk to write on the board. The bus driver cannot hold the steering wheel to drive the bus to school. Persons doing exams, they're sick, can't get to the exam, to miss exams, so that's chikungunya, and so on. And you also have something called Zika, which is microcephaly, where you had during the outbreak in 2016, 2017, you had babies born in overseas with small heads. When the baby born and you measure the circumference of the head, it should measure at least 35 centimeters. And what happens is that if the mother contract what you call micro means small, cephaly means head, and you have small head babies, it means that the brain of the baby is not developed. And then when the child, the virus affects the placenta of the lady, pregnant lady, and when the child born, the head is pretty small, only measuring about 22 centimeters. And then, of course, when the child gets 5-6 years old, it will Barbadians call the child become like slow and that sort of thing, and it don't even know how to put on its shoes, how to tie its laces, and so on. So you will see. So next time I come back, I will be looking at how we should control these mosquitoes, and we don't look at chemical control, biological control, physical control, legislative control, where we look at the law that we're prosecuting for breeding mosquitoes. We then look at the type of water that is caused mosquitoes to breed. We then look at the flying distance of the mosquito, how far they fly, and we also going to look at who they will tend to attack more viciously. So next week, if life be spared, then those are the points that I'm going to look at. And finally, before I go, permit me just to mention one thing. I know payday is coming up. I think on Thursday or Friday. I want persons to know that if they went to the supermarket or the hardware last month, and they bought, when they're shopping now for the monthly groceries for this month, they should buy a different insecticide. You should not use the same insecticide every month. So if they buy bot this month, they will buy red next month.
Oh, because they get that's why people say it's like you're doing air freshener.
let me briefly let me tell you why. If you have mosquitoes at your house, Marcia, and you tell the husband, listen, we having some mosquitoes here. Let's spray the house. You're going to start your husband's going to tell you go in the car and sit down. Let him do the spraying. So you start at the back door, start spraying coming up from the back door up to the front door, so that when he get to the front door, he rests down the back can on the ground, shut the door, and leave and carry you to get some nice dinner or something. So, because you don't want to be in the house with that spray. So when he's coming up from the back door spraying, the mosquitoes are up front tend to smell the mosquitoes, the dark through your louvers, through the bathroom window, and gone. What happened is seeing that they had a touch of the bug when they lay the eggs. The eggs, you get the virus being transmitted to the eggs called transovarial transmission from mother to egg. And it means that when you go and buy the bug, that offspring that born, the bug will not kill them because they would have had a taste of that bug. So that was important that if you buy bug this month, you buy red next month, you buy Coopers the following month, you buy Shell Tops the other month. And then you can return back to the bug around September when that generation of mosquitoes will have disappeared.
You have to go over this when you come back. That's under control. So you have to go over that when you come back on next week. This is
so next week, Monday, we're going to have another interesting session for you looking at those things Monday next week, 7:30. And you will send me the link probably around 7 or so that I could log on. So I want to wish everyone a very good night. I hope that everyone learned some things about the mosquito control and so on.
Yes. If we learned something, I learned so much. I have so many. You make me want to go and study about mosquitoes now. Thank you. And you know what? This man was doing this out of his head. You heard him stepping out of his head and all of that. I'm impressed with you. Thoroughly impressed. God bless you. Thank you, Dr. Hines, for bringing Maurice Gaskin to us. Have a good night, sir. Thank you.
To you too. Thanks very much.